So I forgot to record the Colt Pony one, and I recorded 3/4 last night. So I wanted to make sure I recorded everything right. Third try's the charm. So if I have to stop and pause a little bit here and there, I'm also monitoring who's coming in and out of the room. So if somebody needs to jump in, I will most likely have to stop what I'm saying and let them in. So if I have a pause, that's most likely what it's for. So I wanted to start out thanking everybody for coming in. It's great to see everybody. I miss seeing everybody's face on the pool deck. You know, I miss seeing your kids every day. I like seeing them on the Zooms, but it's awesome to see them come into the pool every day and actually get in the water. Excuse me, get in the water. So this talk is basically about our plans, where we are, where we're going, and plan to return to activity soon. How soon is kind of what we're here to address as well. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. I'll go through all this information. There's a lot of information to go through. Write down your questions, save them up, put them in the chat area, and we'll get around to them. All right, this meeting's for you guys. This meeting is so we can orient everybody to what's going on the team and get things moving in a positive direction. So I appreciate everybody taking their time to do this. It's great to see everyone. So we'll start out with where we are. Governor Pritzker's stay-at-home order is going to expire this weekend. So we're going to be able to go out to restaurants and stuff like that on patios. I know I'm planning to go out to the Randall Roadhouse and Dillon's and have a meal and some drinks tomorrow sometime. That's going to be excellent. So if you have a chance to get out there to Carpentersville and do that, they're one of our gold medal sponsors. Take some time and get out there for them. So we're going to be doing that. Now to discuss that, what's going on with the pool. The high school was very proactive and they drained our pool almost right away when this started. And they've been doing the regular summer maintenance on the pool as we've been out of the pool. So our pool doesn't have any water in it right now, but they've been doing all the maintenance. So instead of being closed after the 4th of July, they'll be able to stay open the rest of the summer once we are able to get back into activity. So that's that part of it. The other part is this week, the IHSA, which is the governing body for high school athletics in Illinois, came out and started presenting a plan of return to activity for the summer. So they haven't come out with really any specifics, but they've opened the door to start getting back to activities. And Barrington High School specifically has already started internal discussions amongst the athletic director, the trainer, the coaches, the principal, the superintendent about a return to activity. So from a swimming perspective, that's good news because we have also submitted our return to activity plan that I sent to everybody this week to the district. So basically the athletic director, the head of the PE department, the principal and the superintendent have all had this plan for a week now. And it's been comprehensive and it's been very positive. It's been received very positively. And what I've been told by the school district at every step, as soon as they are able to open up that pool, that we'll be able to get in. So they've been very open. They've been excellent so far. So this IHSA statement that has come out is very positive because it adds another layer. So, you know, phase 3 is starting. They're starting to open things up for restaurants and other things. And the IHSA is saying, yes, it's okay to go back to some activity. So this is adding some legitimacy to us getting back in the pool sooner rather than later. A lot of teams are getting in the pool or starting to, you know, get in pools or get in open water. There are some country clubs that are starting to open up. So there are some options. The Recplex started having members only this week. So there's also that going on in our area as well. And I've put out feelers to the Recplex. I know the new aquatics director very well, and I've tried to put us in line for that just in case we're not open at Barrington immediately. So we have 2 or 3 different options that I'm trying to cultivate just in case Barrington isn't open immediately. But every conversation I've had with Barrington has been super positive. You know, and like I said, they're planning on starting to fill up the pool so that we can get in the pool soon. So my feeling, my gut feeling is there's a 50-50 chance that June 8th we can be back in the pool. And I know 50-50 is just a coin flip and it's not super duper solid, but on the other end, it's way better than what we've had over the last 3 months. So that's kind of where we are with the high school and where we are in swimming in general. So trying to make other plans just in case Barrington doesn't necessarily pull through right away, whether it's open water swimming or it's going to the Recplex or it's at one of our local country clubs. So there may be some other options open to us when that happens. So right now we're trying to get in the water as soon as we possibly can and what that's going to look like. So from there, I kind of want to jump into our return to activity plan. The return to activity plan was put together kind of as a Frankenstein project. And if most of you don't know, I'm the coach's chair for Illinois Swimming. So I serve on the board of directors for the Illinois Swimming, and I have my own committee of coaches for Illinois Swimming. So I've been doing probably 5 to 7 Zooms a week with Illinois Swimming on the different committees. I basically am in on every committee that they have with USA Swimming. And then I've been jumping on different Zooms with the CDC people and other states that are opening up ahead of us, like Georgia and Texas are our 2 specific options. And just sitting in and listening to their plans to open up and things that they've done. So our return to activity plan is based on 2 separate return to activity plan recommendations. One was put together by Emory University Medical Center in Atlanta, and the other was at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota. So our plan is basically merged with those 2 plans. So I wanted to everyone to know about that and how that was formulated. The board of directors and myself have really put a lot of time, effort, and energy working on that. We also have, included the high school every step of the way from the first draft to the draft we eventually submitted that went to the superintendent. So we've tried to make this as professional as possible and covering as many of the different benchmarks that the state has mentioned in its youth activities plan that they've put out, as well as USA Swimming and the CDC. So we've tried to make this as comprehensive, as detailed as possible to try to help everybody be comfortable and safe getting back in the pool. And that's the way we have approached that up until now. So that's how we came up with our plan and did that. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. We'll probably do this in multiple phases. The first phase will be a get everybody in the pool phase. And since we haven't swam in 3 months, it'll be really kind of very gradual build. We won't go from, it's not like a Ferrari. We're not going to just step on the gas and go from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. It will be a little more gradual. So there'll be multiple steps. We're generally increasing volume, time, and intensity of activity so that the kids don't necessarily injure themselves, and we can work on the technique issues that need to be addressed as they're just getting back in the pool.
These are all only parents.
This is meant to be a parent meeting. Yes, Jenna. You can hang out though if you like. And so that's the one part of it. So the other part I want to address is the billing part of it. So the Barrington Swim Club Board of Directors has met a few times. And the one thing that we have decided to do is that we are really not going to address billing per se until we have a solid start date. So there's a formula that we use to determine dues for a season. And we are not going to even use that formula and say, okay, we're going to be in the water on June 8th. And then we can put put all the dues together and then send it out to everybody in open registration. So that's going to be one of the things that's going to be coming as soon as we have a solid date. So as far as registration and billing goes, that will not start until we have a definite date to start back. And the one thing that came up yesterday in one of the other Zooms is we want you guys to be comfortable. This is not a mandatory having to go back to practice. So this is, you know, if you're comfortable with our plan and you're comfortable with sending your athlete back to practice, you know, we'd love to have you. And if you don't want to, no judgment, no problems. And maybe you want to start in July, at July 1st, or you become comfortable over the course of, you know, whatever's going on. We're going to put an option together for that as well. It's just that we haven't directly addressed it. That was something that came up yesterday that we sent out to everybody in the board. And that's going to be a discussion that we'll have at the next board of directors meeting, which is going to happen in about 2 weeks. So we'll address that directly at that time. So we want you to be comfortable. And if you want to delay your start to see how things go, or you're not immediately comfortable and you're going to wait, that's great. That's fine. We're going to try to put together a billing option to address that issue. Also, with the length of season and the billing, we're used to having maybe 7 to 10 days off in between seasons, and this season will probably be a little bit different. We'll just take a long weekend in between. So for example, for high school girls, they'll probably start swimming whenever we start swimming and not stop swimming until girls high school starts. So that way they can be as fit as is humanly possible when they go to Coach Bear. And then everybody else will most likely take a long weekend before school starts. So everybody wants to get away and go to the Dells or get away and go wherever you want to go. That's what'll happen. And so our registration pricing will include that. So it'll be a little bit different as far as that's concerned. So that's the billing portion that we have, the billing piece that we have right now. I want to address also basically right now, I want to go to meets and what those are going to look like this summer. USA Swimming has canceled all sanctioned competition through the end of June. So no competitions at all through the end of June. As far as July goes, there are no USA Swimming competitions planned in June at the current time. So if you think about sectionals has been canceled, futures, juniors, nationals, have all been canceled. And USA Swimming is trying to put together regional level competitions at the sectional level or higher in 14 different regions across the United States to limit travel. Now, where those are and what those meets specifically are going to look like have not yet been published. So that is the plan from USA Swimming, is a return to swim meets sometime in mid-August. Now, for the local level, Illinois Swimming has canceled regionals, age group champs, and senior champs as of this week in their current forms. So there will be no, formal age group champs or regionals or anything like that in July. And what is being planned is some type of come back to competition plan with a remote, either like a mail-in swim meet, some kind of remote swim meet, or very small regional swim meets as allowed by state regulations. And that will also be in August as well. Open water state has been moved to September. So they just totally threw that back into September, because as open water, we're just going up to the Recplex, and Wisconsin has a totally different set of rules than we do right now. And it seemed like that was the best thing to do. So as far as competitions, that's how that's going to work. Competitions in the short term are going to be more about just getting up and racing and becoming more acclimated with our routine than it is going to be about best times. So as parents, one of the things that you can do to help your athlete the most is remind them that it's a process. So someone that, goes 135 in a 200 freestyle, and all they can do right now is 155, that's okay. It's normal. You've been out of the water for 3 months, and it's where we are. Keep working hard to get yourself back. And it's learning to be very accepting of that difference and promote the process and calm your athletes as much as possible, because it's going to look a little bit differently from that. So be patient, be a part of the process, and realize that those first few meets, some kids might come back very quickly. Other kids may take a lot longer. And so supporting individual differences and the process of getting back is going to be positive. So for some of our athletes, what I've been telling them in our Zoom meetings is we're probably looking at a November or December time frame before we're actually thinking about, touching our best times. And that's probably very realistic and conservative. And we'll come out with that when we talk about individual goals and goal setting and stuff like that. So that gives them a realistic time period of, 12 to 16 weeks to get in shape and get ready to go. And that's basically not a long period of time, but it's long enough that if things are going well for them, that they can possibly do that. So we've covered a basic returning plan, a little bit about billing, a little bit about meets, and I kind of want to get now into the meat and potatoes of coming back to practice and what that may look like. As far as specific scheduling goes, that will all depend upon how many athletes are allowed in the facility at one time. For example, currently the IHSA is saying 10 people in the pool at a time. So let's just use that as an example. If we're only allowed 10 people at a time and we have 30 people in the group, we'd have to have 3 groups of 10. So I would have to break down the group somehow. It'll be mostly by ability and your ability to train by that group. So we would have 10 kids, 10 kids, 10 kids. So it would be 3 training groups back to back to back that would come in and be training. So that is just one example of how that would possibly happen. So the number of kids that we're going to have in the pool at one time is totally dependent upon what the State Department of Health allows at one time. So there are multiple conflicting reports right now. One report from the state, when you look at the return to youth athletics program from the state of Illinois, it says 50% of capacity. So 50% of capacity for us at our pool, we could fit 100 kids in the pool or 75 kids in the pool, no problem. But you have the IHSA sending 10 at a time, and then the Illinois Department of Health does not have any specific rules for lap swimming for pools. So we're waiting for them to come out with that. So I would imagine that once the Illinois Department of Health comes out with rules for lap swimming, and those are going to be the rules that we follow. And that's a good thing, because at the outset of this, when they were first start talking about a return for teams to pool, they were treating swim teams like it was a water park. And a lot of the rules for water parks and usage of facilities and stuff, which had nothing to do with how we do things, was water park related. And that has to do with a lot of the delay of getting athletes back in the pool, as they were treating us like water parks for a long time. And one of the good things that Illinois Swimming has done is they have hired a lobbyist to lobby the governor professionally for a return to swimming. And one of the great things that's happened we've gotten that separation from the water parks. So we're not going to be treated like Raging Waters in Rockford. We're going to be treated more like a large lap swim facility. So that's a good thing. So when you're talking about practices, USA Swimming has come out with very specific guidelines for numbers of kids per lanes and how to organize that. So let's say, for the sake of argument, we start out with 12 kids per session. Luckily, we are super fortunate. We have 12-lane pool. So if we are allowed 12 kids at a time, we will have 1 person per lane. And then if we have 24 kids, we'll have 24. You'll have 12 kids starting at one end of the pool, 12 kids starting at the other end of the pool. And so they will be way more than 6 feet apart. So we're super fortunate that happens, and we can go in increments of 12 or whatever we need very easily. Then when we get to 36, it would be, one group starting on one end, one group starting on other end, and then there'll be a group at the flags. So it would be 15 feet apart. And our lanes are 8 feet wide. So we have extra wide lanes. So it really encourages social distancing with people more than 6 feet apart. If one person's on one lane line, and one person is on the far side of the other lane line. So that works amazingly in our favor. So that's outstanding as well. The one thing that also I wanted to cover as far as safety goes is, I don't know if you've seen this at all, but when you talk about chlorinated water, the CDC has put information out that says that, chlorinated water makes it impossible for the virus to be transmitted, which is great. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. All I know is what people tell me, and I try to go to the best outlet that I can, and that's what I hear them saying. And if it changes, it'll change. So that's that part of it. Just an extra layer of information for you guys. What coming into the pool will look like. So as we get to have practice at however many different time slots we have and however many multiples of whoever we have, who will be in what groups has not even been addressed from the coaching staff perspective. Once we have a solid start date and we have a solid number of how many kids we can have at one time, that's when we'll start dividing everybody up. When they come into the pool, we'll have another Zoom meeting that will be mandatory for everybody when we actually know we're going to start. And we'll address the very, very specific coming into the pool areas. Right now, this is the original plan of what we have and what we're planning to do. So I'm going to go over that with you guys briefly as far as that goes. Social distancing at all times, both inside and outside the building. So as you come in the building, it'll be like going to the Jewel, so to speak. They'll come in the side pool door. Pool doors will be propped open, so we really won't have to touch them at all. And they will have markers that will be 6 feet apart. One of the coaches will be at the door with a thermometer taking everybody's temperature and a series of health questions to ask if anybody in the house has been sick or if they've been sick themselves. And, if their temperature is over 100.4, which is the CDC recommendation, they will not be allowed to swim until they come back with a negative test result. And that is just the extra layer of safety for that. So as they come in to swim, every athlete will have their own number. And every athlete will come in a mask. And all coaches will wear masks during the whole session, right? Before, during, and after practices. And the way this will work is every athlete will have their number 1 through however many we have to have. There will be spaces on the benches around the pool that will be stationed 6 feet apart, that each athlete will be able to put their whatever equipment, car keys or, coats or whatever they need that's not themselves. They will arrive in their swimsuits. They will leave in their swimsuits. The locker rooms will be closed. The bathrooms will be open. The only bathrooms that will be open will be the coach's female locker room and the male locker room. All right, that way we're limiting that activity. So we won't have 25 people going into the locker room to make pancakes like they normally do for the girls. They go in there and they make pastries all the time. So that's a thing of the past. We won't be able to do that anymore. That's how that works. So as they come in with their number corresponds to where you're dropping your stuff around the pool. That number will also correspond to a spot, your lane spot. So whoever's number 1, there'll be a number 1 wherever you need to be, and there'll be a 6-foot spot for you to drop your gear bag. So you're bringing your own gear bag. Now, I know that a lot of you all have your gear bags that are still at the pool from March. Totally fine, no problem, all right? So, but you will not be able to house them at the pool anymore. So once we come back to activity, everybody's gonna have to take their bag back and forth. I also know that some of you have things in the varsity locker rooms. Those will need to be removed, all right? And what we'll do is we will schedule a time where we can come in individually and clean out that locker. That will be apart from a practice time. I will monitor that, we will do that, and it'll probably be the day before we actually have activity time or 2 days before. So once the pool is ready to be opened and I have keys and permission to be back in the facility, we will have a time where all the people in the junior and senior team can come in and clean out their lockers and grab their swim bags. So that will, we won't allow people to be storing equipment in locker rooms or storing equipment in the garage area anymore. Also, there will be no common equipment allowed. In the past, kids who have not had equipment, whether they forgot their kickboard or pull buoy or whatever, have been allowed to borrow common equipment from the high school. That will no longer be allowed. You have to have your own equipment at all times. And most people in this group, junior, senior group, they all have their own equipment. So we don't need to worry about that as much. But no borrowing of equipment from teammates. You need to have your stuff. So 6 feet apart, athletes per number designations. Locker rooms are going to be closed. Your mesh bags are going to be 6 feet apart behind the blocks. Your whatever equipment you have is going to be 6 feet apart on the pool deck. No sharing of equipment. When practice is done, they'll pick up their mesh bags and backpacks. No socializing. I know that's going to be the hardest thing. As I've talked to other coaches from California, Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, that's the hardest thing. It's not the coming in and getting in the pool that's tough. It's when they get done and they're getting out of the pool, because the nature of the beast is they're trying to socialize. And I want them to be able to socialize, but they have to stay 6 feet apart. So as they're going out, they need to stay 6 feet apart. So when they enter, they're coming through the side door. When they're exiting through the stadium door at the other end of the pool by the scoreboard. So they'll be entering one way, exiting another way. And we'll definitely stress to them, we're not socializing on the way out of the pool closer than 6 feet. Excuse me. They will be leaving immediately. Athletes will not be permitted to soar after practices. So after practice, the coaching staff will be going around the pool and wiping down any and all common areas. So where the bags are dropped, where their bags are dropped behind the blocks, the coping are on the blocks themselves. We will also be wiping down the coaches' bathrooms that are available if in emergencies. So in between practices, the coaches will be wiping down and disinfecting all those common areas, whether it's on the deck, the bag drop areas on benches, or the locker rooms, where they come in, where they go out. All those areas will be wiped down and disinfected before and after every single practice. So in between practice A and practice B, there will be a minimum 15-minute lag. And that 15-minute lag is to get everybody out of the facility, give the coaches time to clean back up again, and then get the other group get ready to be checked in. So I know in the general way we have done things, we've asked kids to be 15 minutes early. In this new universe, we want them to be 5 minutes early. So that way, there's not a lot of time before, there's not a lot of time after. And remember, this is the first time that anybody has ever had to deal with any of this. So this is going to be a work in progress as well. So it may take us more time than 15 minutes. It may take us less time. So I'm just saying 15 minutes minimum. And as we go along, if it ends up being less than 15 minutes and we can do it in 10, great. But it'll be whatever our cleaning time is plus 5 minutes, and that's when the next group will start. And it doesn't matter if there's a colt or pony group first, then the same thing will happen. If it's a senior group, between senior group, the procedures will be the same from group to group with disinfecting all those different surfaces. All coaches will be wearing masks the entire time. So from beginning to end. And the one thing that I learned this week that I didn't know before, as I was talking to a coach from Atlanta, was it's impossible to have your voice carry with the mask in front of it. So that's going to be an interesting thing. Usually you're raising your voice to be heard, and I'll have a mask in front of it. So it'll be really interesting to see how that works. So be patient with that. We're going to figure that out as we go. It may have to be a megaphone or whatever it is. or a microphone or something like that. Good thing we have a pretty decent sound system in the pool. So like I said, that's one of those things I learned this week. Like coach was telling me, like, hey, the mask thing makes it impossible for your voice to carry when you're coaching. And I didn't know that. I didn't even think about that. So that's something that that we'll be addressing as we go on. So there's lots of little things that we're going to learn on the fly together as a group. So be patient. There's no playbook for this. We're making it up the best we can with the best information possible. So as the goalpost moves, flexibility is going to be really important. One of the things, parents and spectators with this group, this isn't as big of a deal. We won't be able to have any parents or spectators in the balcony at all at this time. We want the pool space and the amount of bodies we can have in the facility to be athletes at this point. So if we're only allowed 20 athletes in the pool, we want that to be athletes. We don't want that to have to be 18 athletes and 2 parents. So parents, you can be out in the parking lot, you can be in your car, you can go for a walk, whatever it is you need to do. The one thing I ask is that we're not congregating without social distancing in the parking lot. We don't want to have any issues with social distancing in high school with parents in the parking lot. So no parents on deck, no parents in the balconies. And as we open back up again and we're allowed to have people in the balcony, that's great. I love having parents in the balcony. I love having you guys around, talking to you guys, interacting. But until we have the clear from the state, we're just going to have to close the balcony and have the pool deck and pool just be for the athletes. The one thing I also want to stress is if any kind of illness, whether you know what it is or not, if you think it's just a common summer cold or anything, we need to treat it like it's COVID until it isn't. And we just have to use that extra layer of safety. And using myself as an example, I can probably, as everyone knows, I'm at the pool. I'm at the pool when I'm sick a lot. The day after I got out of the cardiac ICU, I was on the pool deck the next day. I'm just one of those guys that is going to tough it out and be on the pool deck. And with these new guidelines, I have to back that off. So, you know, if I'm not feeling well and I've got a sniffle or I've got some kind of symptoms that I don't know what they are, I'm going to stay home and I'm going to make sure I get a test. So we want to be super duper hyper vigilant about that kind of stuff. If anybody comes into the facility and ends up throwing a positive test, we're going to have to shut the whole thing down and start from square one again. And I know everybody takes this seriously, but I just want to convey that extra layer of security. If you have, you know, a sore throat or, you know, a stomach flu that you can't tell whether it's a stomach flu or not, get tested and just make sure. And then once they're 72 hours, no fever, asymptomatic, negative test, then they can come back into the pool. And that goes for coaches, it goes for everybody. And so we want to just add that extra layer of security and safety for everyone and be serious about it. So those are the basic things that I have. I know it's just a load of information. And there are things I've just been pouring through this for the last 2 months trying to put this together for everybody. And we just all thought it was a really good time to get everybody together as we're looking at maybe starting in 2 weeks to just run this by everybody and get this in the front of everybody's brain so that if we need to make any last minute adjustments, everybody is aware of the program and what we're going to do. We'll probably have one more of these right before we get back in the pool. The other thing that we'll do for everyone is the staff is going to, tape all the different boundaries and markers that we need to have for social distancing on the pool deck. The other thing that we will do is we will put together a video and send everybody the link, like we have all the links on our remote coaching page to this video, and every family and athlete that is coming to practice will be required to watch this video on how to enter the pool properly. So what door you come in and what you do, to where you set your bag down, to how you get in the pool, to how you leave the pool, conduct in the bathroom if you have to use the bathroom. All this will be in this video. And as soon as I have access to the facility with Coach Chris and the other staff, we'll go over this and put together a video, not just for the seniors, but for every single group needs to have this for everyone, just to make sure everybody understands what the logistics are and how the traffic is going to move through the pool. So that's an extra layer. So there'll be an overall meeting like this per group to discuss, what changes need to be made and what's actually going to happen. Then there will be a YouTube video that everyone will be required to watch with their athlete so that they can know the procedures for getting in and out of the facility as well. So that's pretty much the plan as it gets out. And on my on the sheet that I sent out, there's some detailed information about the cleaning stuff that we're going to do and how we're going to do it, just so everybody knows. Hold on, I gotta let somebody in. And then some symptoms to watch out for. And I think at this point, most everybody knows what symptoms we're supposed to watch out for. And then as the kids come in the pool, take their temperature. We have a very fancy laser temperature taker that was recommended to me by a doctor at Condell Hospital in Libertyville, friend of mine that we have. And so we'll be taking everybody's temperature as they come in every single practice, just for that extra layer of safety for everybody. So that's what I have. So now what I want to do is turn it back over to you guys. I want to hear your questions, and maybe you guys, most likely you guys are thinking of things that I have not thought of before. And so that makes our plan stronger, that makes our team stronger, and keeps everybody just a little safer. So I'm going to open it up to everybody just for your questions and concerns.
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Sure. So for dry land, would you want the kids to just try to do that one-on-one on their own until things clear? Or would you imagine a situation where they come in the pool for an hour, get out, and then go on the track and do some stuff outside with a group of 10, or I don't know, just what are the thoughts on dry land?
So with the way dry land is going to work is it will be done remotely in the short term.
Yeah.
And then in the longer term, we'll get back in the weight room in small groups as allowed. And Coach Andy has put together a dynamite program. He's made himself available to the athletes. We've had some Zooms with Coach Andy and Coach Andy is our strength and conditioning coach. If you didn't know, he's just doing a super duper job. And additionally, we'll still have some Zooms available for the team to take care of maybe some technical or tactical issues. And we'll also have our one yoga Zoom a week. The kids that have been doing the yoga Zooms, we've been doing that once a week on Friday afternoons or Friday mornings, has been outstanding. I've seen a lot of progress in core strength and flexibility. So to directly answer your questions, when they come into the pool, short term, it's just practice time. It's just swimming. And then their weight time will still be done on the app by themselves. And then as we're allowed to increase the number of people that we have around, or the high school opens up the weight room, then we'll jump in there at that time. Okay. I don't know how long that would take. I don't know what the lag would be. So right now, like I said, the time frames, I have no idea. All I know is we're starting out in the water with remote dry land, and then as we can get back in the weight room, that it'll change. But I don't know when that's going to be.
Hey, this is Paul. Want to give a couple pieces of context, not so much a question from a board perspective. First, I just want to say, Rob, thank you for your leadership through all of this. I think the plan that we put together here, you led that, and with close coordination with the board. And I think, although it's not final, I think it's a really good work in progress. We've shared it with both Illinois Swimming and USA Swimming for feedback. And I'll just say too that, Barrington Swim Club, from what I've seen, is really sort of on the upper echelon of what clubs have been able to maintain throughout this quarantine period. There's a lot of clubs that are completely dark and have been since the beginning. So I think we're very fortunate, to have the staff and have the, the leadership that we do to keep everything, relatively still, together during this period. The swimmers are engaged, the staff is engaged, we're having these parent meetings. It's been great to see. And I think I'm really grateful for that, because that hasn't necessarily been the case everywhere. From a financial perspective, I wanted to share too, and we've talked about this at the board level, which by the way has been, meeting regularly. So, the club is still, tightly managed, but, we have been pursuing and been granted several grants and financial assistance programs to help, relieve the burden in this period where, we don't have any revenue coming in. And, when we do resume, as Coach Rob said, at that time, we're going to take a close look at where we are and sort of prorate it based on, what we think the right thing to do is at that time. And then also, I just, my 2 cents on our involvement with the district. I think, we've had a really good, close relationship with them for many, many years. And it's paying dividends now, not only from the standpoint of, having a little bit of relief financially in terms of like our obligations there, but also I really believe that they are just as eager as we are to see kids back at the facility and getting back to something that's closer to normal. But, it's still going to be a long road ahead of us. And, it's not a simple light switch that gets flipped on and everything's back to normal. So I think, everything that Rob laid out here, is a good first attempt and, seems prudent, but like until we're actually allowed in and we have, a facility to go to, we're going to be looking at it with Coach Rob and the board to make sure that whatever we implement, is reflective of the most recent guidance. And when there's conflicting guidance, as Rob also sort of pointed out, we'll come together and try to make the best decision using all the available information that we have to put those new policies and procedures in place. But just wanted to, offer that from a board perspective and let you know that, I think generally like we're all really excited to get back, but, obviously we want to do it the right way. And I think using an abundance of caution, we've weaved a lot of that into the return to action plan. So Rob, thanks so much for walking us through all that today.
Welcome. Anyone else?
How will you chew your pens?
Yeah, I know. I'm really upset about that. I can't cut a hole in the mask, just to have the pen in there. I don't know. It's gonna be rough. It's gonna be really hard.
Old habits die hard, but maybe this is
Oh my
all
goodness.
we needed was a global pandemic to cut the habit.
I've been doing it since kindergarten.
My only real question is, but again, this would circle back to the school board and stuff like that. I know that USA Swimming at least asked us to reach out and do things. It's agreed that we should all keep our big mouths out of the dealings with the district, ?
I would say at the current time, we don't need extra lobbying to the district. I think they're being really open and reasonable, and every conversation, email, whatever I've had with them has been super positive. They want people in the facilities and kids doing youth sports as much as we do. I've had no roadblocks with the school district at all. They're being cautious, but they're optimistically cautious. Where, for example, Stevenson High School has said, you are not getting in the pool till September, period. And you cannot go out of the school and rent pool time anywhere else. So basically, Patriot Aquatic Club is dead for the summer. And the same thing at Northwestern. Northwestern has said, you are not going to be in our pool till September 13th. And just said, not going to happen. We are very fortunate. Our school district has listened to everything that we've, tried to coordinate and collaborate with them, and they've been super receptive and super positive. Whereas other districts have just said no, or they've shut down, or they've made decisions one way or another. Our district has, taken a cautious but optimistic approach. So I would say we don't need extra lobbying at the current moment, because I think we're on the leading edge of being open for school pools in Illinois.
Unmuted.
Coach, has there been any attempt at the Recplex practice since Wisconsin is open?
So, like I said earlier in the conversation, I'm good friends with the new aquatics director at the Recplex, and we have worked together on his opening plan and my opening plan. It's been excellent, and this week was the first week that they opened to just members. So the 26th of May, the Recplex opened up to just members, and they're allowing very, very limited numbers of people to test it out. They have opened their registration for their swim team. I don't know exactly when they're going to get in the pool. I haven't really, been that on top of it, but I've put our names in the queue so that Steve knows that, that we're interested in renting pool time. So I have an emergency backup plan just in case Barrington doesn't happen. And that's kind of where I am with the Recplex right now. And that's even a bigger issue. So when we're talking about, hey, long course water is important, but right now we can't have a bus. So the transportation up there gets difficult. The renting of pool time gets difficult. So I would say the plan is right now, short term for the rest of the summer, is we're going to be short course meters at Barrington this summer. And that kills me inside a little bit because, I want our kids to have long course water. But right now, I think the best option is to stay at home and do that. But if it looks like as things begin to open up, that would be a safe option and prudent option for us, I might consider it. But right now, I'm playing small and getting larger, rather than starting out this big grandiose plan that I have to cut down into nothing. So I'm staying in my wheelhouse to start with, and then I will expand. But I will tell you, Kyle, that if the high school is not going to open and we can get time at the Recplex before our pool opens, yeah, we're gonna book pool time up there just to make sure we can get in the water as soon as is humanly possible.
All right.
Does that answer
Thank
your
you.
question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Outstanding.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Will the meets in like the sectional ones, will they be long course or short course?
I have no idea. The meet formats and courses have not been determined by USA Swimming at this time.
Okay.
I would venture a guess, Amy, that they are more hope than reality. I think they're trying to organize meet hosts and get meet formats together. And I know that Brendan Hansen and the USA Swimming people have been working super hard on that. I've been on a couple of calls with them, but they're not ready to announce yet, which means they don't have all the details. So when those details become available, they'll be available to us. And I think those competitions philosophically will be gauged toward a return to competition. So, it'll be, hey, you're better people and you need to race together, but let's not necessarily worry about what time you're going. Let's just put the best kids in the pool and see where we're at and how we do.
My other question was the open water, you said that's been changed till September.
Yeah.
What if the high school girls, are they in high school season? Will they be able to swim it?
Yes, the high school girls will be able to swim, but they will need to get a waiver from the IHSA. So there's a waiver on the IHSA website, and I can share that with you when we get closer. And the athletic director from the member school needs to sign that waiver saying that it's okay for Susie Swim Fast to go and swim that open water event.
Okay.
As long as the event is sponsored by the national governing body for that sport in America, the IHSA will allow, I think, 3 competitions during the course of the season.
No, that's good, because you've got a lot of long course, open water swimmers.
I can't wait to get in there and just kick everybody's butt again. That was fun. Anyone else? Outstanding. So what I'm going to do is we'll close it up. Tomorrow afternoon at 6, we're going to have a little trivia time. It'll be about an hour. I know some people have graduation, virtual graduation that you go to. My job is, I'm just going to wear shorts and a cutoff t-shirt to watch my kid graduate because I always want to do that. But what we'll do is have a little adult trivia time. It's a 21 and over. And it should be a really fun trivia time for everybody. It'll be about an hour long, and it'll just be over Zooms. Everybody's welcome. It should be a good time. We got some good variety of questions from a variety of decades. So it won't just be gauged toward one age group over another, so to speak. And it should be a good time. So that's tomorrow at 6. And additionally, if you have any other questions and you just didn't want to ask it during the whole group, just hang on afterwards. I'll stay around for a couple extra minutes just in case you want to ask me any questions privately. But other than that, let me just say again, I appreciate everybody coming out and being here and being a part of the program. I think we had 30 people on the call today. That's just amazing to have such a response, and I really appreciate that. Miss your kids. Love you guys to death. Really appreciate everything that you've done for making our program great over the last almost decade that I've been here. So really appreciate you guys. Look forward to seeing you all on the pool deck very soon. And that's all I have. So good night and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
You.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks.